So how are your weekends going?
Good, good.
Going pretty good. I
I'm
like
glad
woke
it's not raining. Oh, sorry.
I can hear you. I like woke up early this morning and like grabbed like nice bagels from the bake shop. So it's like really cool.
I
And
haven't been there yet. How is it?
it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's like a lot fancier if you've been to Manhattan Bagel. It's
Hmm.
like more exquisite, more gourmet. So yeah,
Mm,
it's really good.
Yes.
Oh
And
wow,
aren't all the bagels
heartwarming.
vegan?
Not all of them, but they do have nice vegan options. Like my friends got this bagel called the veggie patch, and it was really good. So
Oh,
yeah.
cute.
That's good
Yeah,
to know. Someone asked yesterday if people that are vegetarian have enough food options in the area, and I was like, I think so.
there's definitely like stuff off campus.
Yeah. Hi
Lovely.
everyone. Thank you for joining us in this webinar today. We're gonna get things started in like one more minute so people can roll in. In the meantime, you can feel free to keep listening to us just chat. I'm gonna go ahead and rename myself to include my graduation year. And my
Should we do that as well?
I was just doing it so you guys know, but
I'll do it too to follow.
Yeah, to follow.
Will, such a trendsetter.
Literally.
great. So let's get things started. Hi everyone. My name is Will. I'm a senior at William and Mary. I'm gonna have us all introduce ourselves first before answering some of your questions, and also getting into some of our opening questions and topics for discussion. Helen, do you want to get us started and then popcorn up for the next person?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Helen Tariku. I'm a senior from Northern Virginia, more specifically Arlington. I am double majoring in government and sociology on the pre-law track, and I'm so excited for you all to be here today. Grace, you want to go next?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Grace. I am a sophomore here at the college. I'm from Northern Virginia as well, more specifically Leesburg, Virginia. I'm a psych major bio minor on the pre-med track. And Ephraim, you get to finish us out.
Hi, I'm Ephraim Techi. I'm a sophomore as well. I'm also from Northern Virginia, Alexandria, Virginia specifically, and I'm a double major in kinesiology and health sciences with the public health concentration and the theater double major as well.
That's really interesting. Yesterday, I was outnumbered with out-of-state William Mary students. So I'm also in-state from Northern Virginia. I'm originally from South Korea, but I have grown up in Fairfax, Virginia. And as I mentioned, I'm a senior. I'm studying international relations and business analytics with a concentration in management and organizational leadership, which is a mouthful. So thank you again for attending this session. If you could all, as the session goes throughout, just drop your questions in the Q&A button at the bottom of the bar. We'll be managing that portal to see what questions you guys have after we kick things off with some of our own icebreaker questions. And just as a note, we can't actually answer any questions about admission statistics or financial aid questions, but those questions can be sent to this email address that I'm dropping in the chat box now for you to reach out to if you do have any of those questions to get answered. So to kick things off, we're gonna have Ephraim start us off with, tell us a little bit about your freshman dorm experience.
I love my freshman dorm. It started off with orientation. I lived in Yates, by the way. It's one of the bigger freshman halls. Honestly, I think it's the best. Everybody has like their own like freshman dorm pride. Yates, Yates, Yates. But we started off with orientation where we really got to like meet our hallmates and all our friends. It was like icebreakers constantly, but it was really great because like now I still talk to those people. They live in like DuPont, which is where I live now, like the hall right above me, and we've made so many experiences. We'd like have like lounge days where we just like sit in the lounge and like watch movies. There was a couple of days where I'd like run through the halls with my friends and just like meet other people in the lounges just because they were sitting there and like everybody's just always hanging around. So I just like made really great friends with the people in my freshman dorm, and I talked to them today.
Grace, do you want to also answer this question?
Yeah, I actually was very fortunate enough to get Lemon Hall as a freshman, which when I was a freshman, that was the first year. It was originally an upperclassman dorms that got shifted into a freshman dorm. So it had AC and it was very nice, but also similar to Ephraim, I'm still friends with a lot of my freshman hallmates. One of them I literally see 24/7. She lives down the hall from me. And it's just such a good way that, especially with orientation, because you all are going through the same experience, it's like an unknown bond that you form, even if you're not super close with everyone. That's totally okay. It's always just a friendly face. But yeah.
Awesome. Helen and I are a little bit more removed from our freshman year experiences as seniors now, so I think Ethan and Grace really covered that well. The first question we've gotten so far is, have any of you had any research opportunities? I've had a couple, but if others also have them, you can feel free to speak up first.
I was just going to say, like, I've done some research with the sociology department, which I know is like kind of like seen as unique, because I know when I was coming into William Mary, I thought research was more focused for STEM majors, and I never thought that the majors that I was going to be participating in would have any type. But I did mine as an internship for credits, and I did my own research, and then I got to work with Matthew Whaley, which is the elementary school right here, and lead a club after school for 3rd through 5th graders that focused on food justice and teaching them about food insecurity, obviously like from a sociology point of view. But it was super fun, super engaging, and I really was so happy that I got to have this research opportunity, because I really knew it was something that I wanted to participate in when I got to college, but didn't think it was going to be for me, again, because of the STEM focused mindset I had.
Yeah, similar to Helen, I also kind of came in with the, not stigma, but like norm that maybe there are more research opportunities available for people in STEM related fields. And a lot of my friends in those fields actually do have research experience opportunities very easily through their professors or labs currently on campus. But I also found there are plenty of opportunities for those studying the humanities. And so, for example, I'm an IR major, which is an interdisciplinary department composed of government and economics and sociology. And there's actually a whole research institute dedicated to global research called the Global Research Institute, where we have a plethora of different research opportunities of different types. So the few that I was part of over the past few years is in developmental research in Latin America and China, as well as Chinese funding driven development projects elsewhere. And then I was also part of a geocoding project working for AData, which serves clients like the World Bank and IMF and the USA Department in kind of giving more data transparency to development projects across the world. So there's definitely a lot of different opportunities available, either formally or informally. I also know friends in other departments that do research just from seeing what professors are currently working on and reaching out to them with that interest and wanting to help out. And those professors usually really like that interest and want you to reach out, and they like being interested in, they like that students are interested in their work. So whenever you arrive on campus and see a project that you really like, definitely reach out to them and get involved as soon as you can. I guess this is a good question we should have addressed at the beginning. Someone asked, can you share what clubs you're involved with? Grace, do you want to kick us off on that one?
Yeah, so I am a part of a social sorority. I'm a fitness instructor at the rec. And then obviously Griffin Ambassadors, which helps you get involved with the admissions office. But clubs specifically, I'm a part of the Best Buddies Club, which partners up and makes friendships with William & Mary students and then people in the Williamsburg community with intellectual disabilities. And that's been really fun because I'm paired up with another William & Mary student and someone in Williamsburg, and it's just been a good way to get more involved with our local community, as well as meet other William & Mary students. And then I'm also a part of Tribe-thon Club, which raises money for our local children's hospital. And we just had our big fundraiser 2 weeks ago, I believe. So yeah, there's definitely clubs for everyone, which is really nice.
I can go next.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually in 2 a cappella groups. First one that I joined freshman year was called is called Kleptomaniacs. It's just like a really fun a cappella group. The other one is No Ceiling. It's the competition group at the school. So other people in a cappella groups just join together and compete in the ICCAs. I'm also a part of the NAACP. I'm on the exec board and I run the social media page. So if you ever check that out, it's NAACP. You can see some really great social media posts on there. I'm also part of Tap Club, and I'm also in the William Mary Theater. I did a show my freshman year. It's called A Chorus Line. So if you have any questions about like musicals or show or just theater and stuff, I can answer that for you.
There actually, while you're on that, there is a question that asked about how often people go to theater performances and how often shows are put on, if you can talk about that.
Yeah, didn't see that question. So there's usually like 3 a year. There's like one really big main stage musical, and then there's Sinfonicron, and there's 2 other plays. Recently, due to our current situation, everything's been like online. So there's been like online like plays and musicals where people have like come in, like alumni as well, and they've done like talks along with plays and scenes and stuff. Recently, there's been a show called Abducted, which was written by one of our students here, Zoe, and music was scored by one of the people in my a cappella groups. So the school just gives opportunities to all students, but there's a lot of theater opportunities at the school. You just have to like audition, but it's open to all students, and it's really great. It's a really fun experience. I made a lot of friends there that I still talk to today.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that. Part of that question that they submitted was, are those opportunities accessible for those not studying music or theater? And absolutely, like I have no academic involvement in that realm, but I've also been part of Symphonicron. So anyone and everyone is definitely welcome to take part in those productions. Helen, do you want to keep us going with your involvements?
Yeah, so I am also in a social sorority. I'm also in a service fraternity. I am in a religious group. I obviously do Griffin Ambassadors as well as serve as a tour guide. I'm also a fitness instructor. I'm in student assembly, which is our student government here. I'm in scuba club and actually on exec for student scuba club. Also serve on student culinary council, serve as a mentor for WM Connect, and am an American Sign Language Club, as well as serve as a mentor for Virtual Conversation Partnership Program, which teams up with international students and helps with their transition to an American lifestyle as well as American college.
Yeah, Helen keeps herself busy. So going last, I'm also in a social fraternity on campus and part of an a cappella group. I'm also in a service organization called Branch Out, which focuses on learning different social justice issues during the semesters and participating in service projects during the breaks that we have throughout the year. I just finished my term as a cabinet member of the Student Assembly. And someone actually just asked us, how big is Greek life on campus? Do you feel like people are left out, they don't join? Absolutely not. Only about 35% of campus students in the undergraduate population are part of Greek fraternities and Greek fraternities and sororities. And those also include fraternities for like honor fraternities, service fraternities. Helen's part of Alpha Phi Omega, which is the service fraternity on campus. And so there's also those fraternities and sororities that are not socially specific. And also there are ones for multicultural backgrounds and experiences. But at the same time, I mean, as you mentioned, like Grace, Ephraim, Helen, and I also talked about a lot of the other organizations and involvements, and our like social time and involvements don't necessarily center just around fraternities and sororities on campus. And I know plenty of friends, even as a senior now, that have gotten deeply involved with those organizations instead. I personally just chose to be part of the recruitment process to join a Greek organization after arriving on campus and seeing what the culture and style of those organizations are on campus at William & Mary in particular. They were much more like inclusive and diverse than those I've heard about in like bigger state schools and other parts of the US. And it seemed like a really great way to meet a lot of new people from a lot of different backgrounds. But Grace and Helen can also touch on their recruitment experiences or the why behind why they joined through those processes.
Oh, okay. I can talk. Also, there is a question about live-in sororities versus social only. We do have houses on campus that you can live in. It is not required, but definitely it is a fun experience if you choose to do so. I have not, but my big and some of my friends have. I chose to join a sorority. I honestly was one of those people who like looking at colleges, I really wasn't sure about sorority life just based off of what I had seen at much larger schools. But as William mentioned, it definitely is way more diverse and relaxed and just a really good way to meet friends who share similar values to you. But definitely you can also wait. You don't have to do it freshman year. You don't have to do it the first year you get here. One of my best friends, she joined as a sophomore, and for her, she was like, I'm glad I waited because her first year as a freshman, she still got to like see like my experience or someone else's experience without being in a sorority, so she could kind of feel out if that was for her. But it's definitely not something you have to do. You have tons of people in Greek life. If you're not in Greek life, it's always a mixture, so you definitely don't have to if you don't want to, but it's something you can always consider and then drop if you end up not liking it.
Yeah, and just to quickly add about the housing aspect of it, at least in the fraternity side, from my personal experience, no one's ever been forced to live in the on-campus houses. I do know for sororities, sometimes they try to pull from the younger plush classes to live on those houses. I'm sure Hella can talk more about that because I don't know about it as well as much. But for freshmen who join sororities and fraternities, you still continue to live in your dorm. During that year, you never get pulled into living on on-campus houses. And then all sophomores at William & Mary are now required to live on campus. So living in the houses definitely has been an attractive option for some people. But in that first year, and even in the second year, if you join as a sophomore, you never get like required to suddenly move into your fraternity or sorority housing. Just to answer that one other question that just came in, Helen.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we'll kind of hit on the nail. It's really a nice option because sorority and fraternity housing is considered on campus. So a lot of people do choose. I lived in my sorority house my sophomore and junior year, and it was just like a really nice opportunity. It's kind of like getting that same experience like a freshman hall where you get to like bond with people like really well. And I know that kind of can be difficult once you transition to other dorms that are not just focused on your social class because you're not as much like have that interaction, but also just kind of answering some of the other questions about clubs. Since we're on that topic, no, you do not have to be involved in like as many clubs. Personally, for me, I just like to keep busy. You get to choose how much you want to be involved in, and you get to put in what you're gonna like, what you want to get out from your experience at William & Mary. So sometimes you can be involved in just 2 things, and that's your main focus. And sometimes you can be involved like in 10. It really does not matter. And also in club sports, how we all set our involvements. I don't think any of us are in club sports, but they are something that a lot of people like to get involved with. I like to think we have like a tier system in terms of sports where we have varsity, we're a D1 school. Obviously, that means you are committed to play here. You play your sport, that's your biggest like time commitment usually. And then we have club sports, and that's kind of like you want to be involved in your sport. And usually there's an A team and a B team in which you can get involved with. Like the A team is kind of like a little step down from like varsity. You're still practicing, giving a lot of your time commitment, but you don't want to have like the initial commitment of being on a varsity D1 athlete level. And then team B, it's usually something in which you're like, I like my sport, I want to play it, but I just want to like go to like 2 practices a week. Don't feel like I have to give all my time. Like this is not my biggest focus during my time at William & Mary. And then we have IM, which is just very informal. It stands for intramural, and that's just like when you can get a group of friends together and you could just play whatever sport that they have for the season. So that includes like dodgeball, flag football, indoor hockey, so many variety of games that we have available. And I know like typically like I've done every single season pre-COVID with like my sorority because we team up with a fraternity, and it's been so much fun.
Yeah, it's definitely not common to see 4 people involved in this many things. I personally just have too many interests. I dabble a lot and hate sacrificing some of my interests for others. But also, like, this isn't your typical William & Mary space. The 4 of us are just hyper involved because we're very passionate about many different things. One question we just got is, what is it like being a person of color at William & Mary? Does anyone want to particularly kick us off on that question?
Yeah, I can go. So I really didn't have like a big issue with being a POC. It's like definitely a lower percentage of POCs at this campus, but that like makes like the community even stronger. Like as an African American, like that community. I went to NAACP my freshman year, and I just saw this like really strong Black community that shared like the same experiences, and we were able to like talk on that like that you wouldn't get like anywhere else. And like we like I like whenever I see somebody else on campus that I know, like we're like, hey, and it just like makes us stronger and like more connected. So it's like we're a stronger, I mean, sorry, a smaller percentage, but we're like more connected.
Yeah, in terms of like an academic setting, in my business major, actually for all business majors, you're required to partake in a course that teaches you about racial equity and inclusion and diversity in the workplace as your first semester in the business major. I thought that was really cool because it really hones down on how to connect your just general life as a person and a college student with the things you're studying and then carrying that into the workplace. So we learned about how to avoid microaggressions, how to be inclusive of other people. And that felt really good as a person of color to see those different practices be taught to William Mary students, but also for us to keep in mind, even as people of color, in how we treat other people. So I think my experience as a POC has been pretty standard, not necessarily anything typical of William and Mary, but there are definitely a lot of efforts that I've seen both from the student population and from the administration on efforts to address issues of diversity and equity on campus and beyond in our local community. So those are my comments for that question. Grace or Helen, did you want to touch on anything also? Cool. So there's one quick question or a couple of questions about being from out of state. So someone asked if we are from out of state and we're not. And they also wanted to know what the experience is like for out of state students. And then a second question was, since you're all from Northern Virginia, do you feel like you're able to have a lot of friends from out of state / with unique backgrounds and viewpoints? I personally would say yes. Actually, most of my friends are from out of state. This call I feel like is again a little bit unique in that all of us are from out of state, but yesterday when we had 5 panelists, I think 4 out of 5 of us were from out of state. So I think it really depends on like what you get involved with and the efforts you make to meet new people with new backgrounds when you're on campus. Even in my freshman hall, in that like random sampling of a population, I think half or over half of the people in my hall were from out of state regions, or one person was even from out of the country. So I think making the effort to actually get to know people that are different from you once you're on campus is really big. Because I know some people from Northern Virginia, especially that come from high schools with bigger populations that come to William Mary, can get kind of stuck in not making that initial outreach and sticking with the people they were already similar to or already knew or connected to. So those are my 2 cents. Do you all have anything to add also?
I was just gonna say, like, I also feel like even though I came from Northern Virginia, only 3 other people from my school went here, like in my year. So I really like had to branch out, and I felt like a lot of my friends are from out of state, and it's been like really helpful in gaining like my different viewpoints as well as like perspective. And I know it's also been like really a bonding point for a lot of people because sometimes somebody's like from all the way across the country in California and their like friend like lives in Maryland. So they're like, hey, can I spend like this break with you and just like come up with you instead of having to like pay for a plane ticket? So I know that's also been like some ways that we've seen like being an out of state and in state really come together because it's like, hey, we're friends, but I also don't want to have to like go all the way home for like this short break that we have. Can we like hang out? And it's been really nice. Like I know when we had the hurricane happen, it was being in state was really helpful because we saw the community come together and people just like offering rides, offering up their homes, offering up like their dining dollars and food to house these people who are out of state who couldn't go all the way like across the country during this hurricane. And that's just like one of the ways that we saw like our William Mary community value come together.
Also, quickly, just one last note on that. I feel like even I was similar to Helen, even though I came from Northern Virginia, I went to a smaller high school and I only had one, like from my high school, we only ever have like 2 people from each grade come. So I definitely didn't know many people in my area actually, but also even I'll say just like what makes William and Mary so nice is you have such a diverse population of backgrounds and viewpoints. So even if they do come from a similar area, you just the people you meet and their experiences that they have had help teach you so much in of itself. So that's really cool. And can I quickly answer one of the questions I saw that had to do with like involvements? Okay, so
Yeah, of course.
quite a few people asked about internships and getting stuff off campus. I actually am in an internship right now. Sorry, not to add another thing that I'm doing, but also you can, just a quick side note, you can definitely like take steps back from different clubs. If you do feel stressed, which is what I did this semester, I really honed in on just like 3 things I wanted to, like fitness instructor, sorority, and then my internship. So also don't feel stressed to like do everything at once. But for internships, I definitely say they're very accessible and jobs to get off campus. It's definitely easier to get a job off campus once you're an upperclassman because you'll be able to have a car. Like one of my friends works at the Hampton Roads like ear, nose, and throat doctor as an assistant there. But my internship, because of the club I was involved with, and for me, this one, it was through the rec center, I was able to get my internship. So that really helps, that if you do even just put yourself out there to go meet people at the clubs or just talk to them about like further steps, if it's something that has to do with what you want to do in the future, there's tons of opportunities to get internships and just volunteer opportunities. So yeah.
Yeah, and I can also add on to that. The school, it really loves providing students with like those opportunities, especially like outside of campus. I know there's like a whole bunch of grants that you can apply for to help you like look for those opportunities with like research and internships outside of campus. This summer, like I applied to the Stella Adler studio in New York, and I also applied to a grant that would help me like make that get to that studio. So there's just like things that like help you and like benefit you, as the school really loves providing those opportunities.
Yeah, and we have a whole career center dedicated to kind of channeling those opportunities to you for both things that are in the Williamsburg area and elsewhere. We have a whole career portal for employers. Sorry, I'm chewing on a cough drop. Employers that are hoping to recruit from students on campus directly. And on that portal, you can just log in and see what jobs are available. And there are both unpaid and paid positions, and the unpaid positions can also be funded through funding available, like Ephraim said, through our scholarship center that gives funding for those positions in particular, as well as a fund that our career center provides for unpaid experiences. So if there's an internship or externship you're really interested in, but it's not funded, you can apply to those separate funding opportunities to fund those experiences to make it more equitable for your experience. And then there were a few questions about roommates and housing. So let me just keep track of all of them. So the first question is, I was wondering about housing after freshman year. Do most students move off campus? Are you allowed to stay on campus if you want to? So per the current William & Mary policy, all freshmen and sophomores do have to live on campus. And then afterwards, there's, I think, guaranteed housing for all upperclassmen. So you can choose to live on campus if you want to, or if that's the best choice for you. I think the majority of upperclassmen do still live on campus, but a good bunch do choose to find housing elsewhere based on their interests and financial needs. And then one person asked, do you recommend going through the traditional roommate process versus trying to find one of your own? Another person asked, can you just explain the process of finding a roommate? And then a third person asked, did you go random to find a roommate, or did you pick a roommate? What do you recommend? So Helen, do you want to start touching on that first?
Yeah, sure. So it really like depends on like your own personal experience and like what you want. So we have 3 different options on how you can select a roommate. The first option is, again, you might know somebody who's also coming to William & Mary and you're like think you'll be compatible to live with. So you can choose that person to live with. And then you just like tell the school, this is the person I want to live with, and then they'll just pair you guys together. The second option is everybody gets put into a class of 20, whatever year you are, Facebook page, and you can do like a little informal thing about yourself, like kind of like an introduction, little bio. So like, I know I did that route in which like you post like your pictures and you're like, I'm a nighttime owl. I like studying with music, or I prefer somebody who does not do X, Y, and Z, or like does not have like a pet because I have allergies or things of that nature. And then people can comment and like message you, and then that's how you can find your roommate. And then the third option is a more formal option in which it goes through the school and you fill out very similarly the types of things that you care about for your roommate and what you want in a roommate. And it's just like, again, nighttime person, non-smoker, like I want somebody who also goes to sleep around the same time. And then they will pair you somebody, and that is the random route. And I think I've heard from like my own personal experience of doing Facebook, it went really well. I've known people who did random and it went really well. It really is just a luck of the draw.
From my own experience as a freshman, I did do the whole Facebook route just because in my mind, I was like, I'd rather at least know who I'm going to be living with ahead of time to like know what I'm getting myself into. I will say we definitely ended up finding that we were friends, but we are not necessarily the most compatible living wise because she sleeps in late. I wake up early. She's a little bit more free flowing with her mess and I'm a little bit neater. But it's definitely still, it was a good experience. So I would say there's definitely pros and cons to both, because even if you do pick the person and you find that you guys are good friends, sometimes you may find that you're not necessarily compatible to living together. So definitely just keep that in mind. But either way, I think it will, like majority of the time, I've never heard of someone having a very bad experience either way. So definitely it's your personal preference.
Awesome. We've got a couple of questions about just William & Mary and then off-campus activities. So the first question is, are there many outdoor activities and opportunities at William & Mary? Wondering about hiking in particular. Just to quickly answer that one real quick, we have a huge amount of land on our campus that's being preserved to preserve trees and like outdoor spaces in Williamsburg. And so there are a bunch of hiking trails even on campus, and then a few that are pretty close by in Williamsburg. Another person asked, what is your favorite place to go on or off campus? And then there was one more. Let me try to track that down. Oh, what's it like to go to school in Williamsburg? Are there opportunities to explore fun, unique things, or is it pretty low key? And then what's the balance of student life on campus versus off campus? Do you want to kick us off, Ephraim?
Can you repeat the
Sorry if I
question?
called you out.
Yeah,
Basically just what's it like to, yeah, what's it like going to school in Williamsburg? Are there opportunities to explore and do fun things both on and off campus?
Yeah, I really love Williamsburg just because we're right next to CW, literally my favorite place ever. I go there on weekends, weekdays, at night, like whenever you like don't really have anything to do, you just go up there. There's like a whole bunch of restaurants and like bakeries and like ice cream shops. One of my favorite places is Retros. It's like a bootleg Five Guys. So it's like, man, it's like really great burgers and fries and stuff. And there's also Kilwins, which is like a great ice cream shop. Basically you see like a whole bunch of like townsfolk just like walking through. There's always like horses, and there's like a whole bunch of like sheep and stuff and like great animals that you can just like wave at. So it's just really fun to go down there and like look through the scenes. And then there's also the Sunken Gardens, which I love to just picnic at with my friends. And I mean, yesterday I was just like playing volleyball and like on one of the many courts on this campus. So there's always something to do and always friends to have around.
How about you, Grace?
Definitely what he said. What I will say, what's nice is because we are close to water, we have a ton of like land and woods, it's really fun to do some outdoor stuff. So for fitness classes, we are teaching classes outside at this big amphitheater, which is beautiful when it's sunny. But then right behind it is Lake Matoka, which I've done like paddleboarding and kayaking there with friends, which is always really nice and just a good way to get away from technology, especially since we are pretty much constantly on our computers and our phones. But also what is nice about living in Williamsburg is you are close to other areas. So it is a little more difficult as a freshman if you don't have a car, but we do have like Zipcar options, Uber. But if you can, we're close to Richmond, we're close to Newport News, Norfolk, Virginia, Virginia Beach. So it's definitely fun to take like little day trips there. And there was a question that someone asked about like your favorite place to study on campus. I will say while it's sunny, you will see our outdoor seating in front of Sadler is always packed, like good luck finding a table. But my personal favorite place to study is the Daily Grind, like the little coffee shop, just because for me, I don't really like sitting in the library all that much, just because sometimes the silence is like, I can't focus actually with it. I like having like a slight bit of noise. But there's definitely tons of different options for you to study depending on what preference of like noise level you like. And the academic buildings are always fun to sit and study in.
Yeah, awesome. Do you guys have any other favorite places to study? Helen or Ephraim?
I was just gonna say that like the Sun Gardens is one of my favorite places to like just hang out as well as study, especially now when it's getting warmer. You'll definitely see like a lot of people out with picnic blankets, having speakers out, and it's such good vibes all around. Like I'll be doing like my work there, but there's like people playing spike ball, so I always like have like something that I can take a break doing.
Yeah, one place that I completely forgot to talk about, there's Jamestown Beach and College Creek, which are really close. They're like beaches near campus that students love going to and just hanging out there, also playing spike ball and just like tanning or just like enjoying the sun. One of my favorite places to study is ISC though, because it's such a great like modern building, and it's just like such a great environment there.
Yeah, awesome. The next question we have is, have any of you had any study abroad experience? Helen, do you want to kick us off on that one?
Yeah, sure. So I decided to study abroad my junior summer. I knew doing a whole semester was just something that was not for me. And I went to Prague in the Czech Republic, which is right in the smack center of Europe. And we were there for almost 6 weeks. It was a phenomenal experience. I went through William and Mary as my program, so it was really easy with credits to get them transferred over. It was literally like a life-changing experience. Like when people say study abroad changes you, it really does. Like I gained so much like insight into different cultures, as well as getting to travel because I had never been to Europe before. And like the school got to take us to different excursions. Like we got to go to Poland and Austria through the school. And then I personally went to Greece, and it was just 12 out of 10, such a great place. And I think Prague is a slept on city that everybody should decide to travel to.
Like Helen said, I think studying abroad really provides a lot of great new perspectives and knowledge and insight. I ended up doing 4 programs during my time at William & Mary. I did 2 summers, a winter, and a semester. 2 of those were with William & Mary programs led by William & Mary professors. The other 2 were third-party programs hosted by other universities across the world. And 3 of those 4 programs were fully funded by scholarships I found at William & Mary through our Reef Center. And those scholarships are eligible. Some are for anybody for summer programs, anyone for semester programs. One of the ones I got was just for IR majors, and I was lucky enough to get that one, which was a big chunk. And then there were also other opportunities available to transfer some of those credits to fulfill some requirements on campus for my majors also. So there are definitely a lot of resources and support mechanisms available to make sure that study abroad opportunities are available to everyone, accessible financially and in terms of like academic requirements for your graduation requirements. So I'd strongly suggest looking into those opportunities once you arrive on campus. So the next question is, what is the food like? Are there fresh food options? And then I know someone else also asked about vegetarian options. Is anyone here vegetarian?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I'm not a vegetarian, but a lot of my friends are vegetarian and vegan, and I do tend to gravitate towards the vegetarian foods just because sometimes it's always a little safer in general, if you don't have to worry about like cooked chicken or anything. I will say, because of our current situation, the dining halls do limit how much they're serving, just like choice wise. But there's definitely always a vegetarian station open, and it does always have a ton of food, and they go ham on the serving size, which is really nice. But definitely there's always fresh food off campus, because I think someone also might have asked about eating off campus. Because there are so many restaurants in CW. I think there's like 70 pancake houses or something. You can always, if you're feeling a little not dining hall and you want to go somewhere else, there's tons of options. Locale is really good for vegetarians and vegans, which is really fresh food. And we do always have our farmers market if you do like to cook. But I would say that there's always a good range of dining hall food, but definitely could need some improvement, but they are working on that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I answered that in like more full detail if you want to like go to the answers about like the vegetarian, but then kind of going off about one of the other questions about restaurants on campus besides our dining hall, we have a Chick-fil-A, a Cozy, which is like kind of like Panera, and then we have Cordoba, which is like Chipotle, Moe's, and we also have Swem Romas and Aromas and Daily Grind. Well, Aromas is in CW, but there are coffee locations on campus, and they also have food available, like sandwiches, but also like small, like baked ziti pasta that you can just like microwave that's already like prepped. And then we have our student exchanges, which is kind of like a convenience store that's located in two of our dining halls, and they have like a lot of snacks as well as microwavable food options, from like frozen food to like boiled, like just noodles that you can eat. And that's just like kind of like outside of dining hall experience.
Yeah, and like just to add on to that, to pay for all the ones that Helen just listed, like we have dining dollars and just like swipes, and like with our plans we have like the gold 19, which like gives you like a certain amount a week, but like there's like the 175, which gives you like a great amount of dining dollars and like nice amount of swipes, which I tend to like lean towards because I like going out to the places like Chick-fil-A and like Cozy, just because the options may be better there than like in the actual dining halls.
Yeah, awesome. So a few people asked, do you feel like there's a good balance between academics and social life? How challenging or manageable are the classes? Grace, do you want to kick us off on that one?
Yeah, I would definitely say the main thing that contributes to the balance of like how much you put forth into your social life versus academics is definitely all how many credits you decide to take and if you want to put in that effort, I would say, because it's definitely easy to just, oh, school, school, school. Even me last semester, because it was a condensed semester, I definitely focused more on school. And but I would say overall, because so many people have so many different interests, you can see such a balance in people wanting to get out of their classes and go do other things. And especially then also if you want to join Greek life or just make friends in clubs, I think that we definitely have a good balance. But classes wise, it's definitely challenging. And that also again depends on what classes you're taking. So I think make sure you keep in mind how you study best, how you work best, and if 16 credits is too much, 12 credits is too little. So it's definitely all your personal style of how you study and how you want to keep that balance and making sure you're putting in the time yourself to, okay, I've done homework for 3 hours. Let's go eat or let's go on a walk, something like that.
Yeah, there were a few questions also about double majors and call credits overlapping. So I don't think any of the call requirements can be double dipped with a single class, with the exception of maybe the arts proficiency. But I can remember coming in, seeing there's so many graduation call requirements. Looking back at it now, those got done really quickly. Some of your major classes, depending on if they're elective status or if they're like not a core requirement, I do know can be fulfilled for both a call and major requirement depending on the nature of that particular class. But I can say like I know so many double majors. I'm one myself, and I know there's others on this call also. And for example, someone asked, "Are you able to double major with like international relations, something else?" Definitely yes. I know when you first look at the major requirements, there's very long lists on those courses. But after you kind of hash out some of them at first, they really finish quicker than you think. And some majors are also less intensive than others in terms of the number of credits you have to actually complete to get those majors. But regardless, I think those opportunities are really accessible to most people, even if you don't come in with a bunch of credits already from like AP or IB credits. Is anyone else a double major on this call? Do you want to touch on that real quick, Helen? And
Yeah,
Ephraim also.
I am a government and sociology major, so not completely opposite ends of the spectrum, but they definitely do not have a lot of overlapping classes or any at all. But it's very feasible, and like it's also really helpful that you have to like take with our call system. You can have some of like your major requirement count for those call requirements. So like for example, one of my gov credits counted towards my call 200, and that was really helpful. And I got to knock out like two birds, one stone. But it's really doable.
Yeah, I was like advised like not to do such like a wide and different spectrum because I'm kinesiology and theater, but also it's just like it's really great because I get to have like that like STEM like really smart nerdy side, and then like that like theater like artistic side. So it's like a nice like balance for me. The classes don't overlap, but it's like still nice to have like that balance between like my schedule.
Awesome. So Helen, someone asked for the seniors this year. Do you know what you're planning to do after William & Mary? Are you working or going to grad school?
I am planning on going to grad school. I want to go to law school, hence me being pre-law. I am currently waiting to hear back from a couple more and have been waitlisted from some. So hopefully I get into like one of my waitlisted ones that I really want to go to, but that's my plan.
and I'll be working immediately after graduation. Not immediately, after my final summer of life, I guess. I'm working as a management consulting analyst in the federal sphere at a company called Accenture. And so for business majors, there's actually a ton of resources, especially for business majors on campus for those recruiting for those positions. And a lot of those recruitment cycles actually happen really early in the fall. And so I already had a job like back in October for this upcoming fall. And then even for those not in like business or government, there's also a lot of opportunities and resources available to find those careers early on in your senior year. And then Helen can talk about this more later. But there's also a whole center that helps you find like fellowships and scholarships for graduate opportunities for those programs. So the transition out is definitely supported as much as your transition in through like orientation and other mediums. One question is, could you guys speak on what the community and student body is like? Is it easy to make good friends, but also meet new and different people? Grace, do you want to kick us off on that one?
Yeah, so I would say our community is definitely, as you can tell, full of very involved, passionate people. And that does go towards, there's such a range of values on campus, so you'll definitely be able to meet anyone who shares those same values and viewpoints. And I will say, making good friends, I've made so many great friends. And I did answer someone by typing the answer back, but you can make friends through your freshman dorm hall, which is always a good like starting off point just because you are brand new to campus. But I feel like your classes and your clubs will really help you meet people who share those similar interests as you. And I think, okay, yeah. But what was the other part of the question? Just like the community vibe? Yeah, okay. Our community vibe, definitely it's students supporting students, whatever that means. And obviously we have a lot going on in the world right now, but I feel like we are just a very passionate, involved group of people who just want to support one another in whatever way that means. Sorry, that's very vague, but it can apply to pretty much anything. And I definitely think clubs are the way that you will make really good friends. And I say it's very easy to make friends here on campus because you'll meet people through your other friends, and everyone is just so friendly, which is one of the things that drew me to school, which we'll talk about at the end. I see a lot of questions about that, but we'll talk about that at the end. But everyone is just super friendly. So I would say it's very easy to make new friends.
Yeah, one thing that's like the best about this school is the community that we have. Students are just so kind to each other. Like you see like somebody when you're walking and like you just wave past them. Like when you're walking past Sadler, you have so many people to wave to. So like it's like everybody's like here to help each other out. Like in classes, like there's always group meets that like help students that like are struggling and like help like understand the professor even better than they would like by themselves. And like it's like less competitive, but like more like a community. So like that's really like the best thing about the school. It's like the students really.
Awesome. Helen, did you want to touch on the Tribe Venture program? And I think Grace knows a little bit about ROTC for the person who asked that question.
Yeah, so we have a whole bunch of opportunities that are present through the Tribe Adventure program. So I know usually before the school year starts, they have like a whole thing that freshmen can get involved with, from like whitewater rafting to going camping. And during the school year, even during COVID, they've been able to host a lot of fun social events, from weekly on Friday campfires. And I know, like, for example, Grace and I were supposed to go camping this past weekend, and we're going to like sleep in hammocks, but we got rained out. But they also have like s'mores night. They do like camping outside of like William and Mary, in which you like actually have to travel. They're in charge of like hosting our paddle boating, kayaking, canoeing on Lake Matoka, as well as just like obviously pre-COVID, you can go skydiving. They like host a whole like skydiving event that's really popular, ziplining across Lake Matoka. And we've also partnered with them through Scuba Club to like focus on like scuba diving adventures, but a lot of it has been limited due to COVID.
And Grace on ROTC.
Now my knowledge is very limited because I am not in ROTC, but one of my friends is. And William & Mary does, I believe they do give scholarships for it, whether that be full or partial. But there are classes, like academic classes, that you do have to take in conjunction with like the PT training. But I believe those are just like military science classes. And I think you do have to apply to that before you arrive to campus. Yeah, that is, I'm very sorry. It's very limited, but that's the best.
It's more than I knew. I do know they have a really tight culture and like a social circle of supporting each other.
And they do
Um,
actually have a house on campus that you can live in as well, which happens to be smack dab in sororities, sorority court, but that also adds that little element of bonding if you want to live in the ROTC house.
Yeah. Someone asked about how many call and elective classes do students take generally freshman year. So all freshman students are required to take 2 call seminars that are specific to freshman year. One is more focused on like discussion-based learning, and then one on writing, I believe, are the 2 like attributes. So the writing one, I believe, is the 150, and then the 100 is the more like discussion seminar class. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while. So those are generally a lot smaller. My call 100 was probably like 25 max, which is actually kind of big, but my 150 was like 7 people. So they're meant to be smaller and more unique in the learning styles and assignments you have in those classes. So you have to take those freshman year, and the general suggestion is to take them in separate semesters so you can take other classes at the same time, both semesters. In terms of electives, I took a bunch freshman year. Even though I kind of had a strong sense of what I wanted to study at William & Mary, I wanted to kind of use freshman year to explore a lot of different interests also. So it really depends on how set you are in wanting to finish certain requirements earlier on, but I had a blast taking random classes freshman year that have now piqued other interests. And then kind of looping a few questions together, Gavin asked what contributed to your decisions of attending William & Mary. And then someone else asked, what would you say is one of the best parts of attending William & Mary? And then Deanna, I hope I didn't pronounce that incorrectly, what contributed to your decision to attend William & Mary overall? Ephraim, do you want to kick us off on kind of mixing those questions together?
Yeah. So one of the things I heard like when I came here was like a B here is like an A somewhere else. Like the academics here is like a really great, even though they're really like difficult, you get a lot out of it, like just like in the future with jobs and stuff. And also just like the community. When I was walking on the campus when I first visited, you saw like so many students like around and together and just like having fun. So like I was like really prepared and like happy for that. And I guess to kind of like join that question I saw in the chat like about like having like a small campus, like I just like knew like I'd be able to make friends and meet new people and also get that connection with professors, because like most of the classes, unless they're like intro classes, are really small. So I'm able to like connect with professors and like talk to them and like have one-on-one, so they actually like know who I am, since the campus is smaller than like other campuses.
Yeah, just kind of hopping off of that, I was just going to say, I feel like the community is something that may sound like cliche, but is a really big part about like William & Mary. And I think one of the things that like really differentiates us from like other schools, both like in Virginia as well as other schools in the nation. And I feel like even though we are an academically rigorous school, we are a community that focuses on uplifting and supporting one another as we go through this academic like challenge, rather than kind of putting each other down and like competing against one another and butting heads. And I think that really like kind of strengthens us both in terms of academia as well as in our social life. And I really feel like everybody at William & Mary is like separated by like 1 to 2 people, like degrees of separation. And it's like a small enough campus in which you like feel like you know a good amount of people, but like still large enough where you're just like, I don't know every single person on this campus. Not everybody's gonna like know who I am, but like I may know Grace, who knows like X, Y, and Z, and that's how like I'm connected. And it's really been a beneficial like aspect for me, at least in like my college decision, and like kind of why I even decided to stay at William & Mary, even though I was never contemplating it. But I think that's also a large thing that people should talk about. Like, you ask why you decided to come to William & Mary, but why did you stay? And I think community has been a really big part of that decision.
And I'm going to quickly tie back to the call question with like why is, I will say I always knew I wanted to be in the STEM field. But one thing that I genuinely appreciated about like the liberal arts background of William & Mary and the call system is that it forces you to take classes outside of your normal academic interests. And I really used the call classes because you do have to take one each year. I really used that as like my electives in other fields. Like I took an English call class, which it was an experience. I'm not going to be an English major, but it was an experience. And for the call 300, you can use that towards study abroad, which is what I'm going to be doing this summer. So it just was such a good way to push myself instead of just staying stuck in like only STEM classes. And it also, by learning and like learning from other areas of like subject areas, that also helps you better yourself as a student because then you're more well-rounded. And as they all said, like the community was just amazing. And especially during COVID, having my support system of friends really kept me here at school because it was difficult for all of us, but that support system really helps like anchor you and remind you we're all going to get through this together. And yeah, and it's beautiful as well when it's sunny.
So the next question we have is, what are dorms like? Would any of you mind showing us what your dorm looks like if it's not too invasive? I'm off campus, so this is the small part of my room I'm willing to show because my room is very messy right now. But if the other three of you that live in dorms want to give a quick spin of your room, I know they're all in very different dorm buildings. Grace is in One Tribe Place, which actually used to be a hotel right off campus, like literally across the street from campus, so it now counts as campus. That was converted into a dorm and renovated recently last summer. Helen's in Chandler, right, Helen? Which is also one of our more historic dorms that got renovated to look newer and be nicer. And then Ephraim's in DuPont, I want to say. Just guessing based on the background, which I think way back in history used to be a freshman dorm, now is an upperclassman dorm. So I'll let you guys opt in to do that if you want and talk more about your buildings.
Helen, you want to go? Oh, okay. I'll just quickly show. This is mine. What is nice about One Tribe Place is we have full-size beds, which I'm just like, yay, even though I'm a very like compact little person, so a twin really did not affect me that much. But I had a friend who was 6'9" and he squished himself on a little twin-size bed. So the full-size beds are definitely nice to like roll around. And we do have, it's a little messy. We do have a private bathroom as well, which is also a nice bonus. And in Lemon Hall, actually, you do have private, yes, oh, awkward. There was a chat. In Lemon Hall as well, those ones are primarily suite bathrooms and private bathrooms, but there are hall bathrooms, but most freshman dorms are hall baths. So definitely once you're an upperclassman, One Tribe Place is very nice.
So we actually unfortunately wrap things up. We have a couple of links to provide you guys with for resources on other events that admissions is holding, as well as a link with more information on activating your William & Mary account and submitting your deposit if you're sure that you want to join our community, which I hope you are. But thank you so much for coming by today, and welcome to William & Mary. I'm personally going to add my email address in the chat for everyone to reach out to if you have any more questions about my specific experiences and involvements at William & Mary. But others of you can also feel free to do that if you want. And then we were also asked to remind you that if you were signed up for the virtual campus tour today, make sure to hop in the other Zoom call in just a couple minutes. Thank you all for joining.
Bye, thank you.
I'm sorry guys, I was the only one that gave the tour.
No, it's fine.
It was a good tour. My room's just a bit not the cleanest right now. So
Me and my roommate made our bed today. Woo!
So I have to end the webinar, and I think it's going to end it for everybody. But so nice to see you guys, and I'll see you soon.
And Helen, yes, 6'9".
Oh.
Sorry, but I thought it ended, but okay,
I
bye.
thought it would end too.
No, it's because I just realized I'm the host. So
Okay, bye guys.